Hi, thanks for tuning in to Vision, the show all about the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm Lindsay Morshauser-Poe, and we've got a really interesting show for you today, starting things off with Dr. Michael Nay Dorf. He is an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So you've got some really interesting research that we're going to get to, but I would like you to just speak briefly on your overall research here.
Sure. So I study three seemingly disparate areas. I study aging, sleep, and suicidal behavior. And I think it's really a fun area to be in because while they're disparate, I'm linking them in ways that other people haven't. And I'm drawing these connections. So I think it's really fitting with the College of Arts and Sciences, where so many of us span these fields and reach across lines. So I try to do that with my research as well.
Because it's diverse in
Exactly.
a sense. Right. Okay, so you research in part sleep disorders
Yes.
and suicide and how they're linked. What led you to study that in general, that linkage? What brought you to that point?
Absolutely. It was actually, I was doing clinical work in a sleep disorders clinic, and I saw how miserable people with sleep disorders were. And I just started thinking, this has to be associated with suicide. And I was already a suicide researcher at that time. So I started looking at what sleep disorders were associated with suicidal behavior and found that especially nightmares were really associated with suicidal behavior above and beyond other risk factors that had already been established.
Interesting. So you talked about nightmares, and we'll get back to that, but what are some other disorders that people have, sleep disorders?
Oh, there are tons, a lot more than people realize. So people know about nightmares and they know about insomnia, but there's REM sleep disorder where you act out your dreams. There are hypnagogic hallucinations where you actually see your dreams even though you're awake.
Really?
So there are many different sleep disorders that are out there. Most of them are pretty rare. I focus primarily on things like insomnia, nightmares, and sleep apnea. But there are many out there.
My husband has sleep apnea.
I actually do too. So,
yes. So I think that's actually more common than a lot, right?
Very common.
So getting back to your recent press, right? You've been in the news, a couple of different articles. You're kind of on a press tour right now. We joked about that. About you linking nightmares and an increased risk of suicide. How did you come to this conclusion? What was the process there? And what are some take-home points for our viewers?
Sure. So what we've been doing is we've been studying nightmares in relation to suicide while using statistics, taking out the effects of other risk factors to see is it the other risk factors or is it nightmares. So specifically what we did is we did studies where we accounted for depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and found that nightmares were associated above and beyond all of those. And then more recently, what we've been looking at is how long someone has had nightmares. And we've shown that it's not how severe your nightmares are now, it's actually how long you've had them that seems to be especially associated with suicidal behavior.
And so is that the take-home point if someone was watching this and thought, when should I be concerned about my nightmares?
The take-home point is exactly that nightmares are something you should think about, and they're treatable. A lot of people don't realize there are treatments for nightmares. We do them in our clinic on campus.
I was going to ask you about your lab. So what do you do there? You do the treatment, but what else happens at your lab here on campus? And it's the Sleep, Suicide, and Aging Lab.
Yes. With the research, a lot of our research is survey-based, but we're moving more towards doing clinical research, so more at looking at these actual interventions and seeing if we treat nightmares, does that then lead to a reduction in suicidal thoughts and suicidal behaviors? That's the next step that no one has really done as of yet.
Okay. And so, again, if I have repetitive nightmares, I can come to you. Can anybody in the MSU community come to that lab? Is it?
Yeah, we're affiliated with the psychology clinic, the MSU psychology clinic. And certainly anyone in the community, we offer low-cost therapy, depending on income as low as $5 a session. So very low-cost therapy. And typically we say if you have more than one nightmare a week, then it's worth coming in and having us talk about if treatment might be the right option for you.
Interesting. What about repeat nightmares? Is that something that you treat? Because if someone has a repetitive nightmare about, say, drowning or something like that, what is a treatment for something along those lines?
Sure. So very briefly, the treatment, it sounds too easy to work, but it works really beautifully. Okay. What you do is you have the person take their dream, change any aspect of it that they like, change it so it's no longer a bad dream. And then we teach them how to use visual imagery to really picture that dream, that new one, and put themselves in it and practice it. And over time, they either stop having the nightmare or they start having the new dream, which is super cool.
That is cool. Hey, really cool research. This is actually really interesting stuff here. Thank you so much for joining us in studio today. And we will have more coming up right after this break.
We all depend on accurate weather forecasts to plan our day. That's why Mississippi State University is teaching students to forecast the future using real-world news sets as classrooms, putting scientific discoveries in meteorology to the test, while honing on-air reporting skills real-time with local TV stations. And we do it so well that at any given moment, 3 out of 4 weather forecasts across the nation are being delivered by MSU-trained meteorologists who are helping people make crucial decisions that impact their safety, working to ensure business continuity, and in many cases, saving lives. Predicting the future? That's what we're preparing for every single day, so that you can prepare for your day.
Welcome back to Vision. We've got an awesome second half of the show today. I'm welcoming to the studio Dr. Melody Fisher. She is an assistant professor in the Department of Communication. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you
for having me. So nice to have you. So I know you kind of have a past here in Mississippi. All of your degrees are from Mississippi, right? You have Tougaloo and then Southern Miss.
Right.
Tell us about your path, why you're still here in Mississippi, right? Because you had like a brief Illinois adventure, right? So kind of just bring us through getting here to Mississippi State.
I will. Well, here's a little secret, Lindsay. I didn't always want to stay in Mississippi, which is why I had that stint in Illinois and Indiana. But I did attend school here in Mississippi. I'm from Jackson, and so I attended school there, high school, and all through my K through 12 years were here in Mississippi. And then I went to Tougaloo because my family went to Tougaloo, so it was a logical choice. After Tougaloo, I went to Southern Miss, as you said, and received my master's degree. And at that point is when I said, I need to get some exposure and get out of the state. And that's when I did an internship in Illinois. Didn't enjoy it as well as I thought I would. So I came back and I started, and I finished that degree. So after I finished that degree, I decided I wanted to leave again. Let's try another state. So I stopped. I went to Indiana. Didn't enjoy it as well. So
Mississippi kept calling you back.
It kept calling me back, and it really called me back because Tougaloo was founding its mass communication department, and so they asked me to come back and help found that department, and so that's what brought me back. And after spending 10 years there, I decided it was time for me to come to Mississippi State.
Right. So what are some of your main points of your research, some headlines for our viewers, so to speak?
Oh, wow. Okay, so my broad area of research is crisis communication, and more recently I have been exploring Volkswagen and their crisis that they're going through right now. That they've been going through for the past 3 or 4 years. They have implemented a defeat device in some of their models. And so what that does is it is able to detect when a car is being tested, and it gives off negative results. And so they put this defeat device in order to pass emissions tests. And so several millions of people bought these cars because they thought that they didn't emit as much gas into the air.
Right.
And so what I do is look at how do they frame their message to their customers. And what I've found is that people are fiercely loyal to Volkswagen.
Really?
I mean, they even have Volkswagen emblems tattooed on their bodies.
Really?
So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how loyal people are and how they don't really care that they were deceived.
Right. And so that's your research, and I'm assuming that there's some crossover between your research and what you do in the classroom.
Oh yes, so much so.
Can you talk about how you do that in the classroom?
Oh yes, I teach a public relations campaigns course and also a case problems course. So in case problems, we explore several organizations, corporations, in crisis situations and also in opportunities. So in the crisis situations, I like to show them that many organizations use those same strategies in order to receive or to create awareness to their audience. And so it definitely shows an intersection of both the research and class.
Interesting. Well, one of the reasons we asked you here is because you've recently been honored by Tougaloo. You got the 40 Under 40 award.
Yes.
So can you talk about that, what it means for you personally and professionally? We've actually got some pictures as well.
Yes. Yes, I am very excited. I was actually shocked when I was nominated for it because I had heard about it. This is something new. This was the inaugural class.
Okay.
So it was new. I hadn't heard anything much about it until I received an email saying that I had been nominated and if I would accept the nomination. Of course.
Right.
First of all, I wanted everybody to know that I was under 40, but also to show that you know, Tougaloo is such a small institution, and to show that it produces such great minds. And I thought that I was among such brilliant people in this inaugural class. So professionally, it's motivation. You know, I can't just stop because I received this honor. I have to continue on and do my best. And personally, I was so humbled to receive it because there's so many great alumni, and I'm just happy to be a part of that.
That's wonderful. We don't have much time left, but what's next for you? What's kind of on the forefront? On the forefront,
more crisis communication. You know, the first thing people need to realize is that an organization has to acknowledge that they are in a crisis. So I see a lot of things emerging. And so I'm just kind of waiting to strike on those things. So it's coming.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being in studio with us today. We have to say goodbye, but we'll see you next time on Vision.